All right, welcome back, generals, to another Let's Fix Generals 0 Hour to make the best game ever. Good. So Omniblade is still the man of the minute or the hour or the the month. He is currently pushing to make everything work, everything compile as is. Oh, he just sent me a message. I will see what I can do when I get a chance. Pretty obsessed with pushing through to getting 0 Hour to compile. Okay. All right. Okay. Okay, so it looks like Omniblade is obsessed. Yeah, that's good. I like that. I like when people are obsessed with 0 Hour. Okay, let me look around a little bit. Yeah, win main. Okay, so we do have. I will do mostly administrative work right now. I'm not doing anything with the code right now. I actually haven't even downloaded it yet. I don't even have it in Git. Yeah, yeah. I'm very chill about it right now, I have to say. So there was by the way, we also need to continue copying over the issues from Thyme, but maybe if I have a workaround in mind, maybe we can transfer the issues into a dummy repository and then transfer the repository from the one organization to our organization, and then maybe we get hands on those original issue reports and move them to our repository. Maybe that will work. Yeah. Okay, what do we have here? Yeah, I wanted to actually read this text here, which August Resende has spammed into many projects. Yeah, here's some opening words. Okay, let's see what he says. And let's see what I say about it. To get started, we should focus on a few immediate goals that everyone can agree on before adding fancy new features. Build and run the original game. Well, yeah. Ensure we can compile, yeah. Without changes to gameplay. According to EA's notes, the code was recovered to match 0 Hour's final patch. I'm not sure how they. I'm not sure why people always talk about lost source code or recovered source code. The thing is, there's these companies, game studios, they have a repository for all their code and all their data. Typically, it's Perforce. I guess there will also be studios that use Git, but the industry standard typically is Perforce. And yeah, this is where the game will have been since 22 years, just sitting there and quiet. That's it. Maybe they have some like backing up where maybe it moves from some more active repositories to like archived ones. Maybe that's a thing. But yeah, typically it's somewhere. I mean, they don't just delete data unless they have a data loss. Then they would get rid of it. But typically, like code is not a big thing. Like a couple megabytes, right? This code, I expect. So anyway. So it says, which now updated official patch 1005 on modern platform. I haven't seen that either. I haven't downloaded it on Steam. I'm really behind schedule here, but I don't care. There's no need to rush. Take it slow. Our first job is making sure the code compiles. Yeah, with today's tools, Modern Visual Studio. I agree with this, but still would like to see what we can do about preserving Windows XP compatibility, because the problem is when you don't have the Windows XP in the pipeline, like someone checking it, then it will break. Definitely, because eventually you call some API that is not compatible with Windows XP, and then yeah, that's it. And runs at least as well as the old game. Well, it will run identical. This might require fixing project files or replacing any bits EA couldn't release for legal reason. Yes, some libraries we are omitted. The goal is to quickly get a playable 0-hour build from this code, proving our unified project is viable. I don't know if it's necessary to do it quickly, just get it done at some point. I mean, Omniblade is working on it, so I'm not stressing. I could build it, I could try to build it right now, because I actually do have all files, but yeah, not necessary. Identify the code version. We need to confirm exactly what version of the game this source corresponds to. Code version. Well, it's 1.04. It appears to align with 0.1. Yeah, it is. Plus some extras. As far as I'm aware, I think CC Hyper said, aka Elfinan from EA, said that it doesn't contain this new stuff that was added, and that may come as a later as a new commit to the repository, which we can then grab and merge with our branches. Let's document any different or hints, version string build dates to be 100% sure. Knowing this will help us later when we start comparing community fixed bugs or balance changes to see what's already included. I don't think so. Is something is not quite right. Balance changes are not part of game code at all. I think there's nothing you should change or maybe even can change in game code that should affect balance. Balance is all game data. It's all in the ini files. So what we do, what we mostly do in code, if anything, we provide some additional features that you can then opt in the ini file. So for example, let's say you have a stealth fighter and you want to, I don't know, the stealth fighter can fly loops. Yeah, fly loops. Like it can fly like loopings, yeah. And on a press on a button, and then you would not hard code this or anything. You would just like expose the functionality. Hey, if you enable this option in the ini file, then it can do that, right? Something like this, right? So there won't be any balance changes in there, but certainly in everything related to game data, aka General's game page, aka super patch, that can do this kind of balance changes thingy. Minimal documentation and build instruction. As we get it running, we should write down the basics, how to compile the code, the repository structure, and any quirks needed to run the game. The code is old school C++ from 2003, so getting up a build isn't trivial. Yeah, it's really even suggest using just yeah, I mean, you can do this with the original compiler used for this, which, yeah, it's pretty old. Yeah, I think documentation will be good. I need to document, I think this should be something I do after I'm done with the issue reports. I need to write some things about guidelines. If I can wrap my head around it. We need to align on like the initial steps, like do we apply any code formatting at all or not, or do we change any folder structure or not? Like the problem is if it must happen at the very start if we decide to do it, because later it becomes unfeasible. Like those fundamental like things that affect all files, like folders and so on. So it has to be early or not at all. Don't do it, because like any deviance we introduce compared to the original EA release as it is on GitHub, it makes merging harder from anyone who directly builds on top of the EA release or the EA release itself, right? So maybe we should just not deviate at all. We touch it up whenever we want to touch something for fixing or improving, but we don't do anything in advance, which I think is reasonable, because then we won't have to deal with any stupid merge conflicts just from like files not being where they originally were or things like this, right? Yeah, write down the basics. Sounds good. Get a building on a modern compiler and document the steps. Yeah, certainly we should get it running on Visual Studio 2022 with new compiler. I would like to see C++ 17 standards. But yeah, still would like to see Windows XP preserved. We don't need to comment every line, but a basic wiki or readme. We don't need to comment every line. I'm not sure what that means. Non-issues will lower the barrier for new contributors. Yeah. It's also a thing like, yeah, we need good guidelines. We need to have a consensus as to like what code quality should be. Like I think anyone who contributes needs to have a really good understanding of what they're doing, and they need to test very carefully their changes. And I think anyone who's in a position where he says, oh, I'm not quite sure about this change, what consequence it has, then it needs more scrutiny. We cannot run into a situation where developers are not entirely convinced about their own change. I think it's a good sign if the developer, the author, is confident about this change, thinks he has a good understanding of the surrounding code and how it works together with other parts of the code base. But yeah, we shouldn't, we need to be diligent. Yeah, very important. Ensure playability and parity. Test the compiled game thoroughly to make sure it plays just like the retail 0 hour. I don't think that's necessary, really. Well, I mean, if we are unsure about some things, like, so for example, STL port version would not be the exact match as to what EA has suggested, then yeah, maybe you can test it and see if there's a bug or so. Yeah, it doesn't hurt, I guess. Yeah, yeah, because right now we need to plug in some things, right? So it's not identical to what EA has on their repository. Yeah, I guess it's reasonable, yeah, to test it. Just confirm nothing is unintentionally broken. If we do fix a bug or two in the process of getting running, addressing a crash, removing lines, or normalizing components, we'll notice it. Phase 1, do no harm. Preserve the gameplay we know and love, so we have a stable base to build on. Yeah, that's reasonable. Yeah. Yeah, we shouldn't just change. We shouldn't aim to change core functionality that affects gameplay just for no reason. If there needs to be a very good reason, or it needs to be configurable in a way that you can always opt out or opt in, right? Yeah, I think that's reasonable. Focusing on these short-term goods, we can have the short-term. Yeah, I guess short-term. We're focusing on short-term. We have a solid foundation, single community, maintain code base that reproduces the original game. Long-term vision, phase 2 and beyond. Imagine 0 hour running buttery smooth on modern PCs. Yeah, with improved visuals and AI, yet still 100% the game. We love. There are some long-term goals. Modernize the engine. Such engine powering generals is 2 decades old. We can bring it up to modern standards by introducing multi-threading. Good luck. Yeah, certainly. But this requires this needs to be done by professionals with the multi-threading. I would prefer to not see any noob trying to get their hands on this, because with multi-threading it's very easy to break things. You need to keep in mind that the original game, for the most part, is built where everything is packed in a single frame on one thread, right? Most of the work. So it will have a lot of entanglements where anything that happens later in a frame will have a dependency on what happened earlier in the frame. So if you then say, okay, I jobify some things, push them onto threads, there's a chance that some systems may already try to use that kind of thing that is still being processed on threads, right? So you need to have a really good understanding. I think in regards to performance, so okay, so you just drops multi-threading here. Yeah, I think that's a bit, that's not the right approach. The right approach here is to actually measure the performance, take a pix capture, measure the performance, and identify the biggest offenders, right? So for example, let's say you move units and the path finding functionality shows up very expensive, which it likely will. Then you look into, okay, what is so expensive with the path finding? You nail down the functions, the algorithms, and then you see, okay, what can we do about this? This way we can see exactly what is so expensive, and then how we can, what should be the strategy to actually solve this. I would not like to see it done any other way. We need to identify what is slow and then attack that, and not just like go and just do random things. Yeah. I mean, there will be like principles where you say, okay, this is bad, let's improve it because we can see it is bad. There certainly is this, but to really nail down the actual things that that will impact players, we need to measure. Right? Okay, 64-bit builds. Yes, that's certainly a very good goal. Eliminate memory limits and improve stability. Graphics-wise, we could replace the old DirectX 9.8.9 with a more modern API like Vulkan or DirectX 12. My suggestion is to do DirectX 9 for the most part. DirectX 9, because then it also will still be compatible with Windows XP. DirectX 9 is great for everything the game currently needs. So more modern API should only be a consideration if we need like more features, or if there are distinct performance improvements coming with this. But also, it like, I'm not a rendering engineer expert, but I think like the architecture of these is very different than the architecture for this older DirectX. And the way the stuff is entangled, I think it's everything in the game is catered towards how the older API wants to be worked on. And so if you want to use, it's not a single drop-in replacement. There need to be fundamental changes to how the engine interacts with the API, I think. I'm not an expert on this stuff, but I think it's not a single drop-in and everything just runs. Or at least update to DirectX 11 OpenGL. For wider compatibility, this is a great goal. This one is like a nice to have, I guess, but it doesn't serve like a bigger purpose, right? Unless you want to like, what I said, like better visuals or performance maybe. But this one is a great goal, wider compatibility with other platforms like Macintosh or Linux, right? So this is nice. It would make the game faster and more stable. I don't know about the more stable. Run faster, maybe. More stable. I'm not convinced on the more stable. I would say you can run a DirectX 9 game with 99.99 uptime. Yeah. Cross-platform compatibility. Yeah, that's great. Awesome. Play it natively on Linux or Mac OS. Yes. Open source can abstract away Windows-only bits and aim for true cross-platform. Yeah. Projects like OpenSarge already explored using OpenGL Metal for portability. We can leverage that knowledge. Our end game is to let people enjoy generals on their OS of choice. Smarter AI and enhanced gameplay. 0 A has always been, let's say, quirky. We can dig into the AI code and make the computer opponents smarter and more fun. Yeah, I think a lot of this comes also down to the AI scripting, not just the code, but yeah, certainly the code. There are probably things that can be improved. I haven't seen it yet, so I don't know. But the scripting itself in the SCB files, that has a lot of bugs as well. So I think this AI topic it's I mean, if we're not talking about large language model AI training, just like normal AI from old games, I think there's a combined effort between game code and game data. Yeah. Fix log setting, gameplay bugs, and even tweak balance with community consensus, though preserving original mode for purists is important. An open engine also means we could increase limits like max units counts, map sizes, etc. that were constrained by old hardware. Yeah, there are some limits. I'm not sure about unit counts if there are limits. I think there are bugs kicking in when things get too much or too big. Yeah, I think there's some pools also that have limits. Yeah, but I think if a limit is gracefully handled, it's typically not a problem. But I think there are things that are not gracefully handled, and then they overflow something, and then yeah, all hell breaks loose. So that needs to be fixed. But yeah, I guess someone could raise some hard-coded limits, but keep in mind that also raises then the system requirements, right? So if you increase things, then yeah, you need a more powerful machine. Yeah. Extensible mod support, while Zero already has a strong modding scene, our improved engine could integrate features that make modders' lives easier. For example, better tools or in-game mod loaders. Yes. EA's code release also includes the modding SDK assets and word builder updates, so we have a lot to build on. We can ensure our project stays mod friendly or even mod friendlier than the original. Improved graphics and UI. Without changing architecture, we can add options for advanced graphics, high resolution textures, reworked shaders, and support for modern screen resolutions. No more stretched UI on white screens. Yeah. Even things like customizable UI or quality of life improvements in the interface could be on the table as long as they respect the spirit of the game. Yeah, I guess, yeah. Fully free open source games, a very long-term goal, but it's worth dreaming. One day we could have completely open assets. Well, not if they are built on... Not if they are built on top of EA's models. So they would have to be like community made entirely. But I absolutely support this, and I think it's not getting mentioned enough. I'm really surprised that he brings this up. Yeah, it's something that historically the modding community has not managed to do, and that is building all their mods with open source spirit. This all closed source, so you cannot really use any assets. So basically, if the project owner goes missing, then the project is dead because no one is allowed to build on top of it, right? Which is bad. And then, yeah, in the long term, all these projects that are not open source, they will die in the long run. That can be months or years or maybe decades, but in the long run, these projects will die, right? So I absolutely agree with this very long-term goal. Yes, completely open assets. Everything should be open source, in my opinion. Yeah. Unless it's like something proprietary that you want to keep under wraps, like anti-cheat, for example. You don't want to release that, right? Because, yeah, if you give anti-cheat open source, then, yeah, it's defeats the purpose a bit, right? To replace the proprietary EA assets. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I mean, EA is very open about how we can use the assets. We are allowed to build upon them, right? So that's great. So right now everything is okay. I mean, if someone wanted to remake the assets, if they remake them one-to-one, then I would imagine that the copyright still belongs to them, right? Because it's their original design. So if you make a one-to-one copy by hand from scratch, everything, the textures, everything the same, I think they still hold the rights. So I don't think you can really. I don't think it's possible. I'm not a copyright lawyer, but this sounds not really possible. And if you change, if you make new models and textures, everything from scratch, then it inevitably will look different than the original, and that may lose the charm of the original game. So I'm a bit skeptical about this. I guess it's fine for some players, but I imagine that the majority of players do appreciate the original look and got used to how every unit looks like. Although, I mean, some units look kind of crap, like the infantry, uh, who have ugly faces and crappy bodies. Maybe there's a good opportunity to make an improvement. But like the vehicles and the buildings, I think they look fine, in my opinion. Yeah. Of course, it can always be improved, I guess, right? Fully open source projects for other CNC titles like RA for the 2D games have slowly accumulated fan-made replacements for art and audio. We could start a similar effort for generals. This would allow standalone community releases and ensure the game's preservation forever. It's an ambitious endeavor. Recreating all the art of 3D RTS is no small task. Yeah, I mean, it sounds good. I don't know if it's really necessary. I don't know. Maybe. Yeah. All of these enhancements should be approached carefully with community input, backwards compatibility with the original game. Handling old replay files or mods is something to keep in mind. Yeah, I think that there's great value in being able to watch replays from 1.04. Yeah, because there are just so many. So 20 plus years of history. Yeah. The sky's the limit. Yeah, well, once we have a stable base, current projects and resources. We are not starting from scratch. Our community has several active projects and some older ones related to General Zero Hour that can provide code, knowledge, and inspiration. It makes sense to pool these efforts into a new unified repository. Does it have to be new? Here's a non-exhaustive list of relevant projects. Official EA source release. Yeah, the original source code dumped by EA, released on a GPL version 3. This contains the bulk of the game's code, minus a few pieces. Yeah, it's archived and read-only, no issues or pull requests allowed, meaning EA won't be updating it. Community page, the super page. It's this one, yeah. Ongoing fan page, adding fixed bugs, crashing bugs, issue in 0 hour, while staying true to the original game. Often dubbed Pro Patch or 1.04, this project has already addressed many long-standing issues via binary hacks. That's not true. No. No, there are no hacks in there. There are hacks in Gentool, but in here, no. And in the edits, yes. Now, with the source available, these fixes can be ported directly into the code. No, that is not true. They stay right where they are. All the fixes that belong into ini files, they stay in the ini. If a bug is meant to be fixed in the ini files or in any other of the data files, then it needs to be fixed there and not in the game code. Yeah, I mean, in game code you fix also bugs, but in the ini files there can also be bugs, right, on top of the bugs in the code. So this statement is not correct. The super patch team's experience is incredibly valuable. They know the pain points of the game by heart. Yes. Thime, a clean room bottom-up rewrite of the 0 Hour engine C++. The Thime project, well, it's obsoleted. No need to read this. But Thime, I mean, it has taught us a lot. I think it has made all the developers better programmers. I enjoyed working on Thime with the limited things I was able to do. I think I made like 200 commits to it with a bunch of fixes and improvements, cleanups. I did a lot of code reviews for Johnville, but yeah, the bulk of the work was actually done by Omniblade, Thompson's, and Johnville for all the hardcore reverse engineering, which is the heart of what this project did. And yeah, I mean, it was 8 years now in development. Now it's done, so to say. We just say it is completed. We just say it's completed. Yeah. OpenSage, an open source reimplementation of the Sage engine used by General 0 Hour and C#. OpenSage focus on understanding and recreating the engine from the ground up with cross-platform in mind. Yeah, OpenSage to me was irrelevant before and is especially irrelevant now. I don't see any use for OpenSage for 0 Hour at least. I mean, Thyme for me was already a more promising project than OpenSage. I don't see working with C#, and also it's a re-implementation, so it's not one-to-one the same as the original. It will have deviations because they just try to emulate and replicate what the original does, but they don't replicate it. So there will be eventually a million things that will be different, and you won't have the same game. It will be a different game. Gentoo enhanced clients, not open source. Yes, it can't be open source. Well, it can be open source. I can open source it when maybe it's totally obsoleted. Although I think that the upload mode is still something that works even with non-supported game versions. So upload mode will always work. Gentoo is a popular add-on for 0 Hour that added features like widescreen support, improve its spectator tools and anti-cheat measures. Its creator has expressed immense joy at the source code release. Yeah, I did yesterday. Yeah, it's true. It's true. We mentioned Gentoo because it shows what the community wanted from the game in absence of source access. Yeah. That's correct. Now we can implement many of those features natively. Perhaps the Gentoo dev and others can help integrate those improvements. Yeah, absolutely. Most of the functionality from Gentoo, well, not most, but the fixes and some of the convenience features, they can absolutely be moved into the game code. Yeah, I can do that. I mean, it's small. I mean, Gentoo doesn't do much really. Gentoo is not that complex, I think. Yeah, I think it's 30,000 lines of code maybe. Gentoo, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it has some nice features, I guess, but yeah, it shouldn't be a problem. GenPatcher, not open source too. GenPatcher is a popular patcher. Yeah, GenPatcher is also a very useful tool. Yeah. Other mods and projects, numerous mods and tools exist for 0 Hour. While they focus on content, not engine, the creators have deep understanding of the game's inner workings. As we improve the engine, we should keep mod compatibility in mind. Absolutely. Yep, that's true. Perhaps invite modders to contribute engine level fixes that they previously had to hack around. Yeah, absolutely. I think that there are a lot of limitations for modding and lifting those things. Like, for example, the upgrades limit. I think there's 128 upgrades is a limit. Once you have exhausted this, you can't add new ones. And I think that's one of the pain points. And there are probably many, many, many other things. Yeah. Where did I stop? Previously, you had to hack around. There are also older abandoned efforts like partial binary mods patches or research docs on Zarg. For example, the CNC community enlarges wiki pages and forums documenting file formats and quirks. All this tribal knowledge should be consolidated. Yes. On that note, in our super hackers repository, we have generals documents where we can dump all sorts of documents. We also have generals tools where we can dump all tools that could be relevant or useful for generals 0 hour. I also put some tools in there which are not directly for generals, but in proximity are useful for it. So yeah, we do have repositories for it. I don't think it should be inside the game codes repository. Game code should be just game codes. It doesn't need to have documents inside, but here we have just like something. I mean, if it's really like specific, the documentation specific to this game code repository, then yes, put that in there. But if it's like overall design document for the game or something like this, then it doesn't need to go in here into the game code. Then if it's a design for like the game content, then it can be here in game patch, right? For the data side, right? Like balance stuff, for example, right? Or like unit parameters, you know, how they behave and how strong they are and stuff like this, right? This would go in here in data. Code would only document code related things, and anything else can be here in the documents repository. At least from my perspective, that's how I see it. This way you have like a tidy split. Right? What did we do here? Let me see the documents. Yeah, so here I documented, we have some information on ini files, Git, DDS, CSF, SCB. So yeah, just a few notes here and there in the, yeah, basically just dump everything that popped up at some point, right? Yeah, let me see, what else do we have? Let's do this together. The 0 hour community has always been passionate and resilient. We have kept the game alive for 20 years without official support. Now with EA's gift of the source code, we have the keys to the kingdom. Note that we already had half the key to the kingdom, but now we have the full keys to the kingdom, right? So before, we still were able to fix everything that was not game code, right? So you are able to fix all ini, all AI scripts, all windows, all assets, all text. You can fix all this already the years prior, right? The difference now, we have the source code, obviously, and that enables the other 50%, I would say, right? Because in my estimation, like there will be the 50% of the problems will be in the game code, and the other half will be in the data. Right, so and you need to handle both to make a full remaster, so to say. Yeah, you cannot just do one. You need to do both. The 0 hour community has always been passionate and resilient. Yes, we have kept the game alive for 20 years without official support. Yes, gift, blah blah. Yeah, with great power comes great responsibility. I mean, no one can fuck it up, really. Like if someone fucks it up, then you just fork and do your own thing, right? Yeah, if I think people will gravitate to whoever builds the best stuff, right? So I think everything will settle naturally. That's how open source works, I guess. Yeah. But of course, I think there is great value in everyone sharing the same goal, and I think most I would say most of the community share the same goals. For the multiplayer community, I think the mod communities probably have like some different goals because they have very specific project needs. But I think multiplayer community should be able to align on their overall goals. And what I've read so far from in Discord chats and here as well in this write-up, it looks like to me that overall the community members seem to be pretty aligned on things. Like there might be some differences here and there. So for example, I see that some people seem to be very excited about the idea of dedicated servers instead of peer-to-peer connection. This is something that I'm not entirely convinced. Like I would need to see like a prototype of a dedicated server in 0 hour to make a judgment, because yeah, I'm not convinced that dedicated server is a superior tech for this. There is something to say about the way it's implemented, because it's deterministic, 100% deterministic. If you do a dedicated server, then you probably lose this deterministicness, and then it will be difficult to also implement replay. So it would be a huge task to implement dedicated server, first of all, and then it's not guaranteed that it will be better. So I personally, I wouldn't invest into this. I think there are much more valuable avenues than that. I think it would be more valuable to fix up the current tech and make it really good, first of all. And I guess if someone wants to explore dedicated server, sure, go ahead and try and experiment, and maybe it's great. Yeah. I mean, there's always a way to like have different kind of systems that you can opt in or opt out, right? It's not necessary to remove an existing system from the code base. If you put a new system in place, you can compile out the old one and put the new one in place, and then make a switch where you say, okay, you can use the old one or the new one. The downside is that you would need to maintain both, right? If you made like additional changes. But yeah, I think in our case, it will be wise to scrutinize anything that would throw out original stuff, right? And especially something as fundamental as a peer-to-peer network, yeah, because yeah, it's very fundamental to how the game works. So if you change this, you also change gameplay massively, I would say. Yeah, like everything changes. It would be a massive undertaking. Anyway, let's see. This is a rallying cry to all modders, programmers, designers, and fans. Come join the effort. Yes, whether you can contribute code, test, build, write documentation, create artwork. There's a place for you in this endeavor. Yeah, that's very inviting. We will set up channels, GitHub, discussions, Discord to coordinate. Everyone is welcome as long as the collaboration is constructive. Let's avoid the pitfalls of fragmentation. Instead of a dozen half-realized mini projects, let's pool our talent into one fully realized open source revival of CNC General 0 Hour. The result with time and dedication will be a game that not only stays true to the original we cherish, but also evolves with modern improvements and remains accessible for future generations of players. Now is the time. The source is out, the community is awake, and the future of Generals is in our hands. Let's make this legendary RTS thrive together. Boom, boom, boom. Oh, there are also a lot of reactions down here. And time. Yeah. I mentioned this issue. OpenSage. Yeah, he posted this everywhere. He posted it here. Yeah, what a spam. What a spam. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a good write-up. There's some things are not quite correct. I think it's probably also missing many things, but I think the core things are there, I guess. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Let's see what spam do we have here. Yeah, the just curious why XP support is desired. It is a reasonable question to ask. I mean, I don't have a like definite answer, but it's something like there's something to say about like preserving the way the game originally was working, right? So for example, preserving it on this old operating system and also on old hardware that is not so strong, right? So like, which really lowers the bar for entry, right? Makes it run on every shitty laptop, right? So yeah, I don't know. It's a reasonable question to ask. There are probably there are very few. There are very rare XP users. I would love to keep Windows XP if there's no unnecessary reason to remove it or to drop it. Compared for preservation reasons, if there's no unnecessary reason to drop it. Yeah. Okay, actually I wanted to move more issues, or no, I wanted to wait on OmniBlade. So maybe he creates a dummy repository and then we moves these bugs over. By the way, I wanted to oh, we have it here. Yeah. Okay. Let me clean up here this page a bit. Yeah, there we go. We can also remove all this here. Okay. Good. Yeah. Okay, by the way, I also wanted to actually create a fork of the general's game code. Yeah. So you also see at once how it works. So basically, I already made a fork of this one Electronic Arts repo into my own private repositories of my account. But now I make a fork of this one here. So that's in the super hackers. I will go to watch and watch all activity. And I will go to sync fork. No, here, fork. There we go. And put it into, oh, fork already exists. Huh. Interesting. So I cannot create a fork. That's interesting. I thought it would be possible to create a fork of this one because it has a different name. Create a new fork. Ah, because I'm on the wrong account. Hold on. No. Huh? I don't understand. So I cannot fork when I already have a fork here? Maybe because maybe it's already forked as this one and then I can work on this. I'm a bit confused. Okay. Let's do the following. Clone repository. So we go here. Now, codes. We copy this one here. Clone repository. And destination. We go to super hackers and drop it here. And then we put it to generals game code. And then we do clone. Okay, load the key. GitHub, this one, yeah. There we go. Okay. Okay, and now the question is, can we remote origin manage? So if I do the super hackers, and then the super hackers and generals game code. And then test connection. Access granted. Yeah, okay. Then let's see. Yeah, that works. Okay. Interesting. Active. Oh, what happened now? Why did it remove the origin? Oops. Oops. How did that happen? Oh, we changed the other one. Holy shit. Okay, I didn't... Oh, we edited. Oh boy. So I put the origin here. Oh, that's bad. Let's see if we can link it back. Well, that was stupid. Let's put it back in there. Let's just name it this way. Okay. So now the question is, with what is this main branch linked here? Let's see, check out. What happens then? Okay. Check out this one. Yeah, I don't know which one is. Yeah. Okay. So where does it push now to? The problem is I deleted the origin, so I'm not really sure where this pushes now to. Let me see. I think it has to be in the remotes. Is it maybe the order here? Default. Ah, default. There you go. Okay, it's this one. Okay, no, then it's correct. Okay, I think that's correct then. Yeah. Good. Then yeah, so this is ready. I would probably also add Omniblade because he's currently working on this, so we can URL Omniblade and meh. Must be this one. Omniblade. No. Okay. Okay, now we also got Omniblade in here, and he didn't push at all yet. He has no. Hold on. Fetch. There we go. He has a main. Didn't do anything yet, but there is a main. Yeah. Good. So we got everyone in here. That's nice. Good. Yeah. One of the reasons I changed this name, first of all, it doesn't fit the names we have in our organization for the other projects. Plus, it's like a really unholy name to write. So like if you want to type it in a URL, this one is too complicated. It's the underscores. And so I think what we now have for the super hackers with general's game code, I think that's much easier to write and also to look at, right? So I think this is good. Yeah. Good. Yeah. So that's how we set it up here in Git, right? And yeah, from here, from main, we can create a new branch when we work on something. Like so, for example, here could work in progress branch, create branch, and we create it, and now we are here on this branch. Then we could add a new commit here. If we change it some files, commit that, and then we can push it here to the remote. So in my case, I would push it to this repository here. And then from here, I can make a pull request to super hackers. Yeah, that's the intended workflow. On that note, I also need to actually fork this one here. Yeah, fork your own copy, which I haven't done yet. Interestingly, because I've always pushed my branches right into the super hackers, but we want to no longer do that and so do it the proper way. So general's game page, copy the main branch only. No, get all the branches. Actually, no, just get the main branch. Yeah, just get the main branch. Good. All right. Cool. I'm very happy about progress overall. I mean, we just saved years, right? So I'm really relaxed right now. Saved years on time development. Yeah. I think the general's game page repository also came quite a long way already. Very happy with what it currently is. It's I think it's reasonably well built. Like everything is well documented, and I also would like to continue this approach with the game code, like really taking extra care to document everything well. Yeah, so that we have full overview of everything we touch, everything we change and fix. Yeah, I think that's very important. Yeah, there's a lot of work to do. So let me see. Straight tracing. Run looks good, runs bad. Would keeping XP support potentially make it easier to use in Wine or Proton? Yeah, I don't know. Like to me, it just sounds like we should not drop Windows XP if we can preserve it, right? Because I think there's no reason other than if it's too old and we can't easily like maintain it, right? It's just too cumbersome to maintain it. Then okay, good, drop it. Just focus on our target platforms, right? The modern ones. But I don't know. I mean, the game has started with Windows XP. It would be sad to just see this go, right? I mean, I myself can see myself one day just for fun, like install virtual machine XP. Maybe it runs well enough. Just run 0 hour in there. Why not? Right? Or just have like a computer and actually install Windows XP. I mean, it will still run, right? Yeah, 64-bit Windows XP. I mean, the only downside, well, many programs will not run anymore, and but the big downside is that the service Microsoft's updates are no longer happening. So that's a problem. So you join the internet once, and your machine is virus infested, right? Yeah. Okay. Why are they putting here? What is this here? what is this? QEL puts here the party poppers. Yeah. Yeah. Good. Yeah. Then what do we do next? Yeah, I hope that we can finish transferring the issues from Thyme to the new repository next. So that is done. These ones here. I would like to get this done. And then in parallel or afterwards, I will start writing some initial information for the repository just to get a bit of like ground rules set up that hopefully will be reasonable. We already have some contribute stuff here in General's game page, and I think that maybe I can just like copy this thing. I don't know. Like, so for example, here I explained how to contribute feedback and ideas. Like what often happens when you chat with players, that they will have feedback like, this is a silly change, or I do not like this, looks unnecessary. Like this is totally realistic feedback that you get when you present some change, right? Or when they test or look at it, I don't know. So a better feedback here would be, this change looks suspicious. Could you explain why the increased damage is desired, right? So the user in this case would ask for a rationale for this change, would like to understand why is this change? What is the reason? Reason was not given. Or another good example would be, this change is likely undesired because the gamma damage of the GLA Toxin Tunnel Defender is already 30% better than the rocket damage of all other faction Rocketmen, except that of the laser-guided missiles of the USA missile defender, plus 100% damage. The toxin general is already one of the strongest faction in the game, and raising the gamma damage of the rockets will elevate its strength unnecessarily. It's a remarkable feedback. It's a remarkable, top-notch AI-written feedback. Elevate its strengths unnecessarily. Who writes like this? I think I wrote this. Yeah. Example study 2. We look over several different changes and do not understand their purpose. We would like to ask for clarification before we go into more detailed feedback. Bad. I looked at several changes and half of them made no sense. No idea what you guys are doing. Yeah, it's totally realistic feedback. Good. I looked at these changes, insert list of changes, and it is not clear to me what their purpose is. Some of them appear to be missing and irrational. Could you please update them so I can re-review them? That's absolutely reasonable feedback. And I think this makes a huge difference. Like, if people come to developers with this kind of attitude, it's hard to get into a productive dialogue, because it already starts in bad faith. I think it's kind of obvious, but it's hard to deal with. I think it's obvious to both parties, but like, how do you solve this? Like, if the conversation starts like this, right? But if a conversation is like this, then you're like, okay, this person actually has a point. There are the rationals missing. He gave me evidence. He gave me the list of changes. It's correct. I have seen that. And he asked me a question if I could do that. And he offered to re-review it once this is done. This would be like a perfect inquiry. In my perspective, I mean, that's why I put this example there, right? But this is, in my opinion, this would be high quality feedback, right? If someone like does this, but this is not, in my experience, this is not how the typical player approaches this. Typical player will come and just say something more in the lines of this one here, right? And yeah, and then you stand there and say, okay, well, what can I do, right? Yeah, and then there's also a section how to contribute as developer, and there I wrote like, okay, how do we describe changes? Present tense, okay. I think it's not so big of a deal, but yeah, this is currently our naming convention. When text refers to affection units, the unit should be worded without any abbreviations, yeah, and should be prefixed with affection name, yeah. I really put emphasis on this one because it makes it so much easier to have this consistency in unit names and faction names, because if people just write fixes particle effect of MD, right? Like, players who understand what a MD is, a missile defender, they will know. But there will be people like guests or maybe even developers who don't immediately know what MD stands for, which I wrote down here, see? MD. Then, yeah, it's not as good as this one. Like, I think we should always be explicit in what we describe. And we're also very pedantic about the documentation in text. Yeah. So we always, every change we made is accompanied by this kind of change description. And I would like to see the same effort for our code changes in C++, that we have the project name. So I don't know what the project name will be. It's a good question. I mean, here the development name is just patch 104p, which doesn't mean it's just a keyword, right? I wonder what keyword we should use for. I haven't thought about it. We can maybe just use community code. I don't know, or super hackers. I don't know. I guess I don't know. Maybe Maybe someone has a good idea. I don't have a good idea right now. Yeah, and then we have here some keywords. Pull request documentation. I think, yeah, this is something we should also have for this project. We have a license, which is a GNU. We have a README. Yeah. We have terms. Yeah. 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 Okay. By the way, I think the terms need to be re-reviewed. I did write the electronic arts modding guideline terms in here. I also put additional super hacker terms, which right now say this product is freeware. You can redistribute it and or modify it under the terms of the GPA license. If you do not wish to publish your derivative product under this license, then you must not use any of this product in your distribution. Yeah, so basically any derivative work of this one needs to respect the same license. Yeah, and I think that's good because that encourages open sourceness. And then we have this one here. I put this not for commercial profit. Derivatives of this product cannot solicit donations. I think this is something we can talk about in the future. Right now, I put this here because I don't think it is just that someone makes a fork of this and yeah, then makes a release and then asks for donations for this, right? Because basically they didn't do any work and then they would ask for donations. Everything else is, by the way, not permitted by EA already. So EA permits like all the selling and commercialization and all this is already covered by the EA terms up here, but they allow donations. But super hacker terms don't allow donations of this one here. But maybe we can talk about it and say, okay, if the derivative is like a clear, it's very clearly different from game page, like it has so much built on top, like it's a big mod, right? Then I think it would be okay, like that this solicits donations as well, right? I think that would be fair. Like let's say someone uses General's game page as a base and then they build like a big mod on top of it, right? With new units and new maps and everything picobello, right? Then I think it would be totally fair that they also ask for donations. Right now this is kind of excluded here, but I think this is something we can talk about. I just want to mention it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So next session I will actually finish some more of the documentation stuff and so on. And I think once that is done, I suspect that OmniBlade will have progress, and then we will also jump in code and try to make it work. Maybe I can help OmniBlade with anything useful. But OmniBlade is much better than me at this build setup stuff with CMake and all this stuff. Like this is not my type of cup of tea. I don't enjoy like build setups, build engineering. It's not my kind of things. But I do really like bug fixing. That's one of my greatest enjoyments, actually. I really do enjoy bug fixing. There are developers who hate fixing and debugging and all this. I absolutely love it. The longer I can debug a problem, the happier I am. I don't know why. It's just like that. I absolutely love it. So I'm the guy for just debugging and fixing and investigating. Yeah. Profiling, anything with investigation, figure out why something doesn't work the way it should. That's exactly my cup of tea. Yeah. Good. Also, I think Legionnaire has started an effort he has planned an effort to have like a meeting on Sunday. I will be looking forward to this event, but there was no time given or anything, so I don't know what this really is about or when it happens. But yeah, I think it would be nice to just talk with people in a broad community and like align on goals and try to figure out how we can plan effectively. Yeah, I mean, uh, I mean, someone needs to make hard decisions, right? I mean, you cannot have 30 cooks trying to all get the decisions through, right? So I don't know. I don't know what the plan is really. Like you can discuss things for many months, yeah, but it's also important to get things done, right? So I would hope that conversations don't get in the way of progress, right? And I mean, if people want to like spend time with discussing and testing and all this stuff, and I think that's good, but it shouldn't prevent developers from working towards what they think is reasonable. I think in my perspective, I think it's very important to understand that the developers will do the bulk of the work, and it's very important to listen to what they say and understand what they say. The developers will tell you what is reasonable and what is not reasonable, what is feasible and not feasible. So if someone makes like the most outrageous requests or plans or strategies, but the developers, I mean the developers who know what they're talking about, not talking about someone who maybe used C++ for 10 hours. Yeah, I'm talking to people who have deep understanding of engine and game programming, math, and understand what they're talking about, and 0 hour itself, right? It's important to listen to what these developers say. So, for example, if when OmniBlade says something, I listen carefully what OmniBlade says, because he really knows his craft of getting things to run, setting up projects, and I think he's really really professional. The same with Jonathan Wilson and Thompson's very very experienced, and yeah, I think this is important to always listen to what these people say. Yeah, so I hope that the developers will have the sufficient support from the general player community, right? Because they are the ones who need to make the correct technical decisions. I mean, for sure, community can make like higher level decisions. Like, for example, I think there's great value in organizing all sorts of community events and relations and testing efforts, right? I think that this one is a big topic, and this is something I really would like to not participate in much. Like, I don't want to chat with 30 people about testing something, or I just want to develop and focus on the technicals, right? And do that well. And someone else can worry about all the content towards community and all the write-ups and the beautiful documentations and catering their player experience, answering the questions of the players, helping them, and all this kind of stuff. Yeah, or arranging, planning, testing, rounds, playtests, focus testing. Yeah, I think there's great value in this. It's not something that I would like to do, but yeah, I think someone needs to do it, or multiple people need to do this. Yeah. 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 Good. Yeah, I think I will take a break here. So yeah. Yeah, next session we'll have a few more small things to do. And I hope that we will finally be able to then jump at the code and try to get our hands dirty. I'm really looking forward, but I think it's okay to spend a bit more time with setting up things first before looking at anything in the code. I'm really relaxed on this. I have the feeling that right now there's a bit of a gold rush. Everyone, or some people try to be really fast and trying to get it to run like a competition. But why? Just just chill, just chill. You know? Yeah. Yeah. I could get it to run right now because I actually got all the libs ready. But yeah, OmniBlade is working on stubs that actually get rid of some of the unnecessary things. So I think that is a better approach, and will then also be accessible in public. Yeah. Good. Yeah. Then I think that will be it for now. I wish you a great day or night. Until next time. Goodbye.